Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the DFO DFS Report. It is Wednesday, November the 1st. I hope everyone is having a good day. The charts and the show did very, very well yesterday. I hope you guys had a big night. A couple things to go over before we start the breakdown of tonight's four-game slate. For one, hopefully my internet is holding up as it did the other day. But a couple quick notes. For one, please check out the Daily Faceoff Survivor Pool presented to you by Wendy's. Super cool. You can find it right here at the top of dailyfaceoff.com. It is 100% free. You can win prizes, Wendy's prizes, cash prizes. So check it out. All you got to do is make a pick for this evening, whether it's a win, point, power play goals. There's lots of different options. You pick one. If you get it right, you survive, you advance, move on. As of right now, 492 entries. As you can see here, I went with Jason Robertson over half a point against the Calgary Flames. It's not too late to join and make your picks, and these will be running for the remainder of the season. So you got an hour and 51 minutes to get into it. So check out the Wendy's Daily Faceoff Survivor Pool today. Okay, let's get into tonight's starting goalies. As I mentioned, 4-game slate. Last night was awesome. Let's start with some of the comments. Had Van 1 and LAK3 last night. We're on a heater now, Brock. Not to mention your Hattie. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that. I tweeted it out. I didn't want to brag about it like all day. But yeah, Elias Pettersson was my hat-trick pick last night, and he did it. Came through. First correct hat-trick pick of the season, so love to see that. I loved Vancouver 1 last night. They were awesome. LA3, I said it felt like an LA3 night. They absolutely smashed as well. So great stuff. Van 1 and LA3. Good stuff. Graham. Brock crushing at the moment. Thank you, Lindsay. Absolutely love that. And then this is my favorite one. Oh, God. Arizona 4, best matchup on the slate. Do we trust the elite talent of Liam O'Brien and Jack McBain? I was literally dying when I saw that Arizona 4 had the number one matchup on the slate. That was absolutely hilarious. When I finished the charts, I'm like, what are the chances after what they did the other night? Arizona 3 and Arizona 4 are just popping the other night. I don't know if that's going to continue. And last one right now, we live in a world where Frank Petrano is 6,800 on DK. I mean, he's been awesome. It's not that crazy. I mean, 6,800 is obviously pretty unreasonable, but he's been absolutely outstanding. So anyways, hope everybody had a wonderful Halloween. Hopefully everyone was safe and stayed warm. But here we go. Let's go. Cheers. Let's get into today. 4-game slate. We got Carter Hart starting for the Philadelphia Flyers up against Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen for the Buffalo Sabres. And then we got Jacob Markstrom likely getting the nod for the Calgary Flames. That game starts early for Calgary time, 6:30 Eastern, early start there in Calgary. He'll go up head-to-head with Jake Ottinger for the Dallas Stars. For the Avalanche, they'll turn to Ivan Prosvetov. Prosvetov, he will be making his first start with the Avalanche. As being, I believe he was claimed off of waivers from the Coyotes. Jordan Binnington likely to get the nod for the St. Louis Blues. And then in the nightcap, you've got the Anaheim Ducks and the Arizona Coyotes. Lucas Dostal will face Karel Vejmelka. So a lot of fun names on today's goalie matchups, but yeah, it should be a nice 4-game slate. Let's break it down. Let's start with the implied totals and the DFO implied totals. So we start here, Colorado at the top of both the sportsbooks implied totals and my implied totals. Arizona and Philadelphia, along with the Buffalo Sabres and Anaheim Ducks, are the top 5 for the sportsbooks. I've got it Philadelphia second, Arizona third, then St. Louis and Anaheim. So a little bit higher on St. Louis tonight than the sports books, pretty considerably higher on the Philadelphia Flyers for sure. So we'll get into everything here. Let's break it down. Dostal and Prosvetov for tonight. Who do you think gets the W, or Provetov? I like both of them. Obviously, if we're gonna talk about goalies out of the bat. Prosvetov has an implied win percentage of 68.7. So if we're talking from a season-long fantasy standpoint, then Prosvetov is the guy to go with. 68% implied win percentage. I think he's a fine goalie. Dostal definitely, is probably the better real-life goalie. Not quite as good of a team matchup-wise. Vegas doesn't like it quite as much. So if we're talking from just who's going to win perspective, I will go with Prosvetov. If it's a daily a daily fantasy play, I think Dostal is certainly fine at 7,300, but Prosvetov at 8,200 is a little bit more expensive. So, this is that's where I would go with that one. What an exciting looking game there in Calgary. Yeah, the over under is pretty low. I'm interested to see what happens here. Apparently, our guy KQ, pray for us Flames fans. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see what happens with the Flames tonight. Like, I bet the Stars. I think they're minus 133. It just doesn't seem like a good enough line. Like, I just don't think the Flames are very good. They've looked terrible, and I've been listening to Flames Nation podcast Barn Burner last couple of days just to see, kind of get the feel for what's going on in Calgary Flames Nation, and it's rough. They don't have a lot of faith right now, so I don't really have a lot of faith in the Flames right now. So looks like it could be a pretty low scoring game, but at the same time, I just don't know which Flames team shows up. They seem to have dysfunction in the locker room. They seem to be a bit of a mess right now. So I don't love Calgary tonight. Obviously, the DFO implied totals do not like them either. So let's get into it. We'll start with the 5-5 score. At the very top, you got Colorado 1 at $24,000. Is that correct? Am I on the which sheets am I on? Yeah, I'm on the DraftKings sheets. Okay, so yeah, they're $24,000. I think they're $27,000 to full stack. On FanDuel. But yeah, 24,000, super expensive, but they have the best 5v5 matchup on the slate, or 5v5 score, excuse me. Philadelphia 1 comes out top. Our number 2, we'll get into why they look so good. Buffalo 2 looks good. Colorado 2 also grades out well. Then $6,800 Frank Vatrano and Anaheim 2 grades out 5th. Let's start at the top here with the Flyers and the Sabres. Like I said, Philadelphia 1 grades out 2nd overall in terms of 5v5 score tonight. Let's start with them. They got a 77.4 matchup score. As I said, when they are on home ice, they are always going to match up Sean Couturier against the opposition's top line. So they're going to go head-to-head with Tage Thompson's line. The one thing that's really interesting, the Sabres are a bit of a mess right now too, and they're just kind of searching for it. They keep tinkering with these line combinations, trying to find something that works. Tonight, Brandon Bureau will make his season debut. He'll go directly onto the top line next to Tage Thompson and Jordan Greenway. If you don't know anything about Brandon Bureau, he terrific numbers. I'm just trying to pull this over here. Terrific numbers at the AHL level throughout his career. 6 points in 5 AHL games so far this year, 51 points in 49 games a season ago. So looks like a guy that has some offensive pop and could do some damage, up top on the top line. I don't even think he's on. Is he on the slate? Oops. Okay, so he's on the slate on DraftKings. I don't think he's on the slate on FanDuel though. But just $3,500 on DraftKings. So they're a bit of a mess. You've got Middlestad, Paterka, and Skinner on the second line. Cousins goes from the top line right wing to the third line center with Alex Tuck and Tyson Jost. So yeah, they're searching for it. And I think this is a really nice matchup here for the Flyers. I do think the Flyers have been playing extremely well. Obviously, had that tough game against the Ducks. That was more Sam Ersson. So, yeah, I really like the fact that you've got this Couturier line going head-to-head with the Thompson line most of the night. Overall, 77.4 on the matchup score. These numbers from Philadelphia 1 are bonkers. They are the best line on the entire slate from an offensive perspective right now. They are playing unbelievable. Granted, they have a smaller sample size than most of these lines because obviously Couturier did not play last year and Atkinson didn't play last year. So all I have is this year. But this is about a 90, 95-minute sample. So 9 games. They've basically been together the whole season. They've been unbelievable. 4.0 expected goals for per 60, 38.6 scoring chances for, 19 high danger. They look insanely good. Absolutely love the Flyers top line tonight as they go head-to-head most of the night with this Tage Thompson line, which is giving up 36 scoring chances and 14 high danger chances. The 27th ranked defensive line on the slate. So Philadelphia 1 just looks absolutely bonkers. So I don't know how crazy high owned Philadelphia is going to be, but the second line looks okay as well. Konechny, Frost, and Forster. Let's just pop over to their power plays. You got Couturier and Atkinson together, and then Tippett on the second power play unit for that first line. But the second line looks okay too. Konechny and Frost with Forster. Their offensive numbers aren't nearly as good. 12th. Their matchup also isn't nearly as good. 45.2. They'll go head to head with Buffalo 3. Buffalo 3 is quite a bit better defensively than Buffalo 1. So to me, this is just a game where I'm probably just going to fire up Philadelphia 1. There's really no reason to go anywhere else. Their numbers are absolutely insane. They're the best offensive line on the slate from a metrics standpoint. I'm not saying that they're definitely better than Nathan McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen, because that's not the case, but they're putting up insane numbers right now, and they're only 15,100. There's really no reason to deviate from that. They are super, super good, and I will be firing up Philadelphia 1. Don't really care about the other two lines. If you want to play them, the second line grades out 14th. They're 12,700. The third line grades out 17th. They're 11,700. But matchup-wise, not quite as good. If I was going to play another line, it looks like it would be Philadelphia 3. Their matchup's a little bit better. Offensive numbers are pretty comparable. So I would probably lean Philly 3 as opposed to Philly 2 with Farabee, Cates, and Bobby Brink. You also get some top power play exposure with Bobby Brink, and they're a little bit cheaper as well. So if you're going to play somebody other than Philly 1, I would go with the third line. Then for the Sabres, I mean, not bad matchups across the board. Buffalo 4 is the best matchup of the group, but I think it's going to be tough for this Tage Thompson line to really get a whole lot going against the Couturier line. The Couturier line has been really, really solid defensively, 15th best, and that's while going up against the opposition's best every single night. They're doing a tremendous job. If you can grade out kind of middle of the pack while always facing the other team's top line, you're doing something right. So yeah, Philly 1 is brutally, brutally tough. So I'll probably fade that Tage Thompson line tonight. I like the second line. Their numbers are outstanding. Second overall on the slate in terms of offense. 3.8 expected goals for per 60, 41 scoring chances, 19 high danger. They've been great. They've also been leaning on this Casey Middlestad line a little bit more heavily as well. 29% of their 5v5 ice time. And they came out and talked about it the other day. The Sabres coaching staff did. Don Granato said that we don't really have like a top line. We have two top lines. And he was talking about the Middlestad line. So he really likes this line as well. Trust them. They grade out third best overall. They're super, super affordable, 13,500. Skinner 7,100 is expensive, but the other two are super, super cheap. Middlestad 33, Peterka 31. They look really, really good tonight. If you sort by the actual projections in terms of points per thousand, you get an error because Connor Zary broke it. But other than that, they grade out super, super well. You've got Buffalo 2 grading out what would be third. I guess I kind of glossed over Philly 2 again. I've given you the option to look at these charts two different ways, two different styles of projection and ways to grade out these lines. Philly 2 does grade out as the second best line in terms of points per thousand, just because of how cheap they are, and obviously they do play a lot of minutes, so they're not completely out of the player pool for me, but I do kind of slightly prefer Buffalo or Philly 3 in that spot. I don't know what's going on with this one. Just no bold. Okay, I don't know what's happening. So yeah, I like Buffalo 2 the most out of the Sabres lines. I think the price is pretty affordable, and they seem to have a solid matchup and really, really, really good offensive numbers. From a power play perspective, both teams' power plays are struggling pretty much the entire season so far. They've been really bad. Both teams' penalty kills have been really good. So overall, the Flyers are grayed out with the fourth best power play advantage on the 4-game slate. So middle of the pack. The Sabres are 7th out of 8. The one thing for the Flyers is they've been extremely disciplined, just 2.8 times shorthanded per game, which is just absolutely bonkers. It's the lowest on the slate. The Sabres also not getting a lot of penalties or a lot of power plays, excuse me. So it looks like a game where, just 2.9 expected power plays for the Sabres obviously is super, super low. And that is, hurting their overall ranking, in addition to the fact that they're 27th on the power play. Stack this game. Yeah, I don't mind it. The one thing I really do like about this game in terms of like game stacking is one, the other 3 games don't look like they're going to be super high scoring. We already kind of covered this Dallas Calgary game, probably lower scoring. Colorado and St. Louis, I think, is probably going to be on the lower scoring side. If there are a lot of goals, it's probably going to be fairly one-sided. Colorado are massive favorites. And then Dallas, Anaheim, Arizona, I mean, anything's possible in that game, to be honest with you. So I would, if I had to guess, I would say Philly and Buffalo might be the highest scoring game on the slate, but that Anaheim, Arizona game is like literally anything goes. So I do think stacking this game is interesting. And then you got the fact that, you've got the Couturier line going up against Buffalo 1, and then Buffalo 2 going up against the third line for the Flyers. So the third line for the Flyers isn't very good defensively, 23rd. So there is the potential for Philadelphia 1 to go out and dominate the Thompson line and rack up points. And then you have the opportunity for Buffalo 2 to go out and dominate Philly 3 and rack up points. So not only are you game stacking, but you could get the two ideal lines taking advantage of their matchups, and really, it could be a really nice game stacking environment if you put Philadelphia 1 and Buffalo 2 together. And then on top of that, they're like so cheap that it's super easy to do that. Would you play Tippett or Atkinson? I would lean Atkinson just because he is on the top power play unit with Couturier. So if you were mini stacking and you had to leave one of them off, I would leave off Tippett just for the top power play unit exposure. I absolutely love Owen Tippett. I talked about it last week I think it was on Monday, that I think that Tippett is due for a breakout here. He's been slumping a little bit to start the season, had a nice game on Monday, and I expect that breakout to continue. So I would love to full stack them, but if I had to pick between the two, I'll go with Atkinson just because of the top power play exposure. Second game on the list, we got the Flames and the Stars. I probably already kind of referenced that. I'm not going to talk about this game a whole lot. I don't love it. I don't like the Flames at all right now. They just seem to be, as I mentioned, super dysfunctional. Huberdeau looks terrible. You got Zadorov calling out the whole team. You got Blake Coleman saying, we're fine. They're not. They don't seem to be fine. They seem to be a mess. On top of that, they're not scoring goals. They're, from a metric standpoint, they've actually been decent. Like, their metrics hold up kind of around league average. But they have the lowest PDO in the NHL. So they have, I think, the second lowest shooting percentage in the NHL, with San Jose being the worst, and then one of the worst save percentages, maybe the actual worst save percentage in the league right now. It's close to, anyways, lowest PDO. So there are signs like saying that positive regression could come and this Flames team can turn around. But when you watch them, they just look bad. So I'm going to trust the eye test a little bit on this one and just say that this Flames team seems pretty dysfunctional. And this Stars team is fresh. They've only played 7 games on the year. They look really good. And I think the Stars go in and probably win this game pretty handily. As Tom points out, Oettinger only being 8K seems way too low. Yeah, like it's kind of to do with the betting market, right? Like the Stars only being minus 133 was a little surprising to me. It makes me nervous, right? Like, it makes me think the Flames are going to win this game, because it's like, what does Vegas know here that I don't? Because on the surface, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. So yeah, Oettinger being 8K seems too low, but at the same time, it's like there's something there, right? Like, it just seems eerie. I don't know what it is about this betting line. Freaks me out a little bit. Like I said, I did bet Dallas because it just seemed off, but yeah, 8K does look good. Like I said, if it's gonna be a low scoring game, Oettinger being one of the best goalies in the world at 8K and a low scoring matchup, yeah, like he grades out as by far and away the best goalie in the slate, and I think it's for good reason. He's an absolute superstar between the pipes. So let's get back to it here. Not good matchups on either side. Obviously, that feeds the low DFO implied total. But then when you take a look at the numbers here, Dallas 1 still grades out super well offensively, 4th best overall. The second and third line, I talked about them the other day. I think that they were capable of taking advantage of easy matchup, and they did. We saw, I think, Duchesne scored, Dadonov scored, Wyatt Johnson scored, if I remember correctly. I played a little bit of Dallas 2 and a little bit of Dallas 3, and that was nice. So, yeah, it's interesting. Tom also says that Calgary cannot score, seem to take loads of low danger shots. Yeah, and that's not really how they grade out. They grade out pretty well in terms of the metrics. Like, they're still generating scoring chances. They just have no finishers right now. Like, nobody on that team can score. But you take a look at these offensive numbers. I mean, they're pretty much the same. The top 2 lines are like identical, and then the third and fourth line are identical, and they're all pretty mediocre offensively. So it's not like anybody in this Calgary team is really even sticking out. That's like, hey, play me. You just really can't rely on them. And then you factor in that the Dallas Stars are pretty tough. Defensively, it just doesn't look like a good matchup for the Flames. That being said, while the Flames have been struggling offensively, the defensive metrics still stand up. They still look really good defensively. So I'm probably not going to target this game too much. If I was going to play anything, I think it would be Dallas 1. They're just super good. They seem to be a little bit matchup proof. Their matchup is the best among the top 3 lines for the Stars. It's not saying much. 19.4 is still pretty bad. They're going to see 45% of their ice time against the Michael Backlund line, which, as we know, is very good. 5th best defensive line. So I think the Stars probably win this game like 2-1, 3-1, something like that. I think it's going to be low scoring. I love Jake Oettinger. I think there's some defensemen you can play in this game. There's some decent value as well. Take a look at the forwards here. That Stars kind of middle 6 seems to be pretty valuable. Wyatt Johnson specifically, 3,900 looks pretty good. Mason Marchment, I'm probably not going to play, but Jamie Benn 52 is too expensive. Pavelski 66. Yeah, like, even from a value standpoint, there's not a whole lot there from the Stars. So Wyatt Johnson's probably fine outside of that. I'll probably only play Dallas 1 and then maybe a couple of defensemen. We'll see how much Rasmus Anderson makes a difference tonight. And then obviously on the power play, not a whole lot to write home about either. The Stars, 32nd on the power play, absolutely atrocious. Also not drawing very many penalties, the lowest, tied for the lowest on the slate. Going up against the 13th ranked penalty kill. The Flames struggling on the power play, 23rd, going up against the Dallas Stars, second ranked penalty kill. So again, there's so many reasons for this game to be low scoring tonight, and I expect that to come to fruition. The Colorado Avalanche and the St. Louis Blues, I mean, the Avs have lost 2 in a row. They shuffled their lineup up, and I expect them to just, this team's not losing 3 in a row. They're certainly not losing to this St. Louis team. I expect the Avs to come out, firing and just absolutely demolish the St. Louis team tonight. It's just not a group that's gonna take losing lightly and play poorly again. So we do have some game time decisions. Makar and Byram. Byram looks more likely to play than Makar, but even if Makar doesn't play, I'm not worried. Like we saw last year, they went on stretches without Makar last year and played unbelievable. I'm not that concerned, especially not against the St. Louis team. Lehkonen, McKinnon, and Rantanen, as I mentioned, they grade out as the top line to target on the slate. 24,000 is expensive. The matchup's really good. 80.6. They're going to go against St. Louis 1 and 3 primarily. St. Louis 1, pretty bad defensively, 25th. So they should just absolutely cave them in. The second line or the third line, not terrible defensively, but they absolutely generate nothing offensively. So again, with a 39% Corsi for and a 41% expected goals for share for St. Louis 3, and then pretty poor results also for St. Louis 1. This is a matchup where Colorado 1 should just absolutely destroy them. They are very, very good. 6th best offensive line on the slate. Their metrics are solid. Went together, good enough to absolutely just smash here. 32% time on ice is also the highest in the slate, which is another reason why they grade out super well. They play a ton, especially when Rantanen is up there. They don't have to split the ice time between McKinnon and Rantanen. They're just going to send these two out there to dominate the game and take over. So they grade out as the best line to target. I think their ownership will stay relatively reasonable just because they are so expensive. It's hard to build lines with them and pair them with anything of substance. So I'm going to try to pair them with as much as I can. I did make a build earlier with Philadelphia 1. That would be like the ideal build. You had to leave Lehkonen off, which is unfortunate, but you could definitely get them in with Buffalo 2. Anaheim 1's probably even, close. So, there's some decent value here on the slate that you can still play Colorado 1, but their outrageous ownership or outrageous price is going to keep them a little bit lower owned than they probably should be in this matchup. And this looks like a spot where they can just absolutely bludgeon the Blues here. So Colorado 2 also grades out very well. Riley Tufte will make his Avalanche debut at 2,500. Johansson still in that top power play unit, just 3,800. Nichushkin 4,800. Super reasonably priced. I think that they are a good pivot option here. If you want to fade the ownership of Colorado 1, I do absolutely love what you get at Colorado 2 here at super, super cheap price of 11,100. Matchup wise, it's actually slightly better. They're going to see a little bit more of St. Louis 4. St. Louis 4, not very good defensively. They're also going to see a little bit more of St. Louis 2, which is just getting absolutely demolished. So this whole St. Louis Blues team is absolutely ass. The top line's fine. 19th best overall offensively, but defensively, they're pretty brutal. They're just all getting caved in. The Corsi 4 and expected goals for shares are abysmal. So I expect the Avs top 2 lines to just do work tonight and just absolutely bludgeon this team. So 6th and 3rd best offensive rank. It all depends. Obviously, the upside's much higher on Colorado 1. That being said, Colorado 2 represents the best value on the entire slate. Riley Tufte's a pretty good hockey player at minimum price if he sees some minutes. Ryan Johansson, the top power play unit, 3,800 is probably, I would say, the best forward value on the entire slate. I don't know who else I would make a huge argument for. I think Peterka and Middlestad are fine. I think Leo Carlson, if he plays, is fine. But Johansson on the top power play in this matchup looks like the best value on the slate up front. The Avs also have the second best power play advantage on the slate. They're 12th on the power play, going up against the 16th ranked penalty kill. The Avs have been drawing a lot of penalties, 4 power plays per game, but the Blues have been pretty disciplined, 2.9 times shorthanded per game. The Blues, dreadful on the power play, 31st, going up against the third ranked penalty kill. We talked about it. Prosvetov makes his first start. Hasn't played a ton at the NHL level. He's had some good games. He's had some bad games. Don't really know what we've got in him, to be completely honest. I think he'll be fine in this matchup. It's obviously, I think he's less of a lock than Alexander Georgiev, but I think he's good enough for this Avs team to win. I think they'll probably play a little bit, tighter in front of him as well. And like I said, they're not going to lose 3 in a row. I think they've lost 2 in a row. if I just keep saying that and I'm wrong, I'm going to feel super embarrassed here. So let me just double check. Because yeah, like I think they'll play a little bit tighter in front of them than they do, have been in the last couple games. Let me see. Am I right? Yeah. Okay. They've lost 2. They've been shut out in back-to-back games by Pittsburgh and Buffalo. 4-0, 4-0. Brutal. They're gonna score like 8 tonight. Honestly, they're gonna smash them. And Prostov, yeah, I think he's fine. He's the most expensive goalie in the slate. I think people will probably steer clear of him for the most part. I think he'll see some ownership, but as the most expensive goalie on the slate and the fact that he's just kind of a relative unknown to the general public, I think he'll be fairly low owned. Just a guess, though. But yeah, not probably the best play. Expects to see the least amount of shots against. While he has the highest implied win percentage, he's probably not going to be optimal, especially at that price. Is Riley going to start for sure? I'm assuming we're talking about Riley Tufte, and yes, it looks that way. Getting shut out by Pittsburgh is impressive. That team tries to concede goals. Yeah, so do the Sabres. So yeah, getting shut out by both of them is crazy. They mix up the lines. That's why I just expect this team to just come out firing tonight. It should be a good night for the Avs. I bet the over on their team total, and I got them on the puck line as well. So go Avs, go! Last game of the night, we've got the Ducks and Coyotes. Again, this game is just a total guessing game. I think both these teams have outperformed expectations thus far. I did say early in the season I expected pretty good things out of the Arizona Coyotes. I did expect them to at least take a small step forward. Maybe not a playoff team just yet, but at least be competitive more often than not and win more games than they did a season ago. I thought the Ducks would be a little bit better as well. They've been super feisty. They've been my favorite team to bet on early in the season. They're just massive underdogs every single night, and they just keep winning, beating good teams. So yeah, I like the Ducks again. I like the Coyotes. I think Dostal might be my favorite goalie on this slate just because he's been absolutely lights out. And he's only 7,300, which is crazy against the Coyotes. So Dostal playing the way he is against the Coyotes, probably my favorite goalie. We talked about it before. The Coyotes just aren't the same team on the road. They just aren't. So Dostal is probably my favorite goalie. So I probably won't have a ton of Arizona. And the reason why, like, even though this matchup looks pretty good, again, there's no hard match in this game. It's like 25% across the board. Is like this top line for Arizona, who I absolutely loved last year. They have been so good defensively and so boring offensively. So yeah, I don't know here, man. This is a weird one because this is a spot where like last year I would have hammered Arizona 1. And I don't know if I'm willing to do that. So I love Dostal tonight. I'm probably going to roll Dostal. I think that people probably lean on Arizona more than they should because of what they did last game. Even though the top line did nothing. Like the fact that they scored 0 goals and there was 8 goals scored is crazy. Like that just goes to show that they're just, I don't know. It's bizarre, man. Like these numbers make no sense. They've been super good defensively though. So I just don't know how much Arizona I'm going to play. Like that top line still, like I said, the numbers aren't great, but there's 18,500. Like I just don't think I'm going to play much Arizona 1 tonight. I like those stall too much in this spot. So Arizona's fine. Like I said, the matchups are really good. If you want to play Arizona 1, more power to you. I think that, eventually they're going to get their offensive game going. Till I see it, I'll probably kind of wait it out. If this game was in Arizona, I'd probably buy in a little bit more. On the road, I'll probably pass. They just don't score on the road. Arizona 2, no, I'm not playing a Nick Bjugstad line. Arizona 3, I mean, do we run it back with Arizona 3? Not that we played them the other day, but like, I don't know. They look pretty good. I think Carcone and Cooley as a mini stack's fine. I mean, these offensive numbers are the best that you get out of the Coyotes here. 9th best line on the slate. Matchup wise, it's the worst, but like we're really kind of just splitting hairs here. Like they all are playing each other pretty evenly. So maybe some Cooley and Carcone mini stacks, 2,900 and 4,700 is maybe kind of what I would do. If I'm building like a ton of lineups, I'll sprinkle in some Arizona 1, but they're just a little bit too pricey for what they're offering here so far this season. So I have more interest on the Duck side of things, as you see here. Anaheim 2 and 1. Grade out pretty good. Car 1 is money. Put him in for 5 Gs. I mean, if he comes out and scores 5 goals tonight, that would be insane. I'm sure somebody will take him on the hat trick pick tonight. I wonder what the price would be on a Carcone Carcone, I don't even know if I'm saying it right. Hat-trick, back-to-back Hatties for the young man. I know he's a pretty good hockey player, but I don't think that's likely. The Milka is gonna shut down the Ducks. Maybe. I would be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, if Arizona wins this game, I just like the Ducks a little bit better. And I had 7 expected goals against last game, which makes Dostal risky. Yeah, of course. They also were playing the Pittsburgh Penguins on the road, so that's a little bit of a different story. Arizona was way better to end the year after their disastrous record-setting road trip to start last year. Yep, they were. But they still like they're still Arizona. I like the Coyotes. Don't get me wrong. I just on the road they just still don't score enough. They're a team that I like at home. But yeah, if you want a game stack, I think there's opportunities here. The Ducks certainly aren't the best defensive hockey club, so there's reason to trust the Coyotes tonight. But like I said, just with Dostal's price, I'm in. But yeah, Arizona 2 and Arizona 1, or excuse me, Anaheim 1 and Anaheim 2 look pretty good. Great out 5th and 6th. With Toronto at 68 is crazy. He's probably going to keep his ownership down. Tavich has been good. Strom's been good. Strom sucks, just like in terms of playing from DFS because he doesn't shoot. You got to get apples from him. Anaheim 1 looks awesome if Leo Carlson plays. They're only 14,700, which is great. Matchup wise, it is not the best, but their offensive numbers have been pretty good. The 50th best offensive line on the slate and the 5th best offensive line on the slate. So I think playing Anaheim 2 is interesting, just especially the Toronto mini stack with McTavish, I think is solid. They're expensive, but I think it's a good spot. I think Vamelka is a good goalie. I think this game can be surprisingly low scoring, if I'm being honest. It's crazy to me that Garland gets no ice in Vancouver. Yeah, he was really good in Arizona. This is the second time the Coyotes are seeing Dostal this season. Yeah, I'm not concerned about it. He's just good, dude. Like, Dostal is just good. He's a good goalie. So I'm not worried. The only thing I'm worried about is the Ducks. Like, the Ducks can definitely fold up in front of him tonight. Okay, let's talk about some defensemen. Let's look at the best values on the slate. Fowler, 3,500, certainly a good play. Projected to see 27 minutes of ice time tonight. He's been around 26, 27, 28, which is just bonkers. So, yeah, he looks great at 35. Mintnikov at the top power play unit looks great at 4,100 too. I'll be firing him up. Zamula, he's a nice kind of cheap punt defenseman to pair, especially with Philly 1. Philly 1 plays the majority, not the majority, like most of their 5v5 ice time comes with this Zamula Walker combination. So if you're looking for a cheap punt and you can't fit Sanheim in a Philly 1 stack, then Zamula looks fine. Makar, if he plays, obviously a stud. Jersey at 6K, yeah, he's getting too expensive, but he still looks really good. He's playing 21 minutes a night. Sanheim, absolutely love him if you're playing Philly 1. Again, if you can't fit him, Zamula is solid. I'm super interested in Byram if Makar doesn't play. At 3,500, it's just kind of guessing. Brock, always good info on DK. Is it a bad strategy to play 6 players from the same team, i.e. Colorado 1 and 2? No. I call it the onslaught stack. And I love it, especially on small slates. They're fun. Obviously if that team doesn't go out and smash, then you're in trouble. But on a small slates, I think it's a fun strategy, particularly if you can try to squeeze in like a full power play unit. That's a good route to go. But yeah, onslaught stacks are fun. I do them all the time, especially on small slates, as I've said. And no, I don't think it's a bad strategy. It's just like you're putting a lot of eggs in one basket. If you're only building one lineup and it's an onslaught and like the Avalanche only win like 3-1, then you're probably not cashing. But no, I don't think it's a terrible strategy. You just made 56 people yawn. I wake up so early to get my day started here, and it's just hard, man. By 6 o'clock, I'm gassed. So yeah, sorry, I don't mean to yawn on the show. It's a lot of talking, it's a lot of yawning, it's a lot of everything. Any news on Makar remains a game time decision, and smash that like button, Peter Porker says. And yes, please do. I think yesterday we had like 12% of you hit the like button. It's not that hard. Please do it. Been onslaught stacking Pitt too much to disappoint to start the year. Yeah, Pittsburgh's been kind of all over the map. Can you fit Colorado 1 and 2? One team seems to be too much money. No, I think you definitely can. As I said, they're only 11,100. So yeah, I think you could probably squeeze them both in. You obviously can't play a defenseman, but I think you can definitely squeeze them in. Trying to do quick math. Yeah, it should be doable. Show is great. Don't apologize. Yeah, hey, Trying to stay awake here for you guys. But yeah, let's back to the defenseman here. Own power looks okay at 3,900. Thomas Harley's been off to a really good start at 31. If the Dallas Stars end up scoring, a few goals, I think he's fine. Not a lot of great options. Chris Tanev has a shot blocking machine. If the Stars get a lot of shots off tonight, I think he could be good. Yeah. Jersey looks good. Looks like a good play for Arizona if he's playing well. Yeah, I like Jersey a lot. He's just getting a little too pricey, but I like Jersey a lot. Okay, the goalies, kind of talked about him already. Ottinger is a great play at 8K. I think that's going to be a low-scoring game. Love Ottinger at 8,000. Prosvetov, probably not going to see enough volume to be optimal, but I think he's a good play if you're kind of trying to secure a win. Cash game type thing. Luukkonen, I'm nervous about. I don't think he's great, although he's looked really solid in his last couple of starts. Obviously, a shutout against the Avs. I really like this Philly team tonight, so I'm going to pass. Vamilka against the Ducks, 7,900 is probably a little bit too pricey for Vamilka on the road. If it was on home ice, I would say yes. Markstrom 7,400 is interesting. Like I said, this betting line makes me nervous. There's something about it that just is weird and makes me feel like the Flames are just going to steal one tonight. So I think Markstrom's kind of a super solid contrarian option. So I do not mind him. I'm nervous about it, obviously, but I think from a contrarian perspective and just this general feel I have about this game, I think Markstrom's okay. Hart at 78 is good. He's been awesome. I think the Flyers are a better home team than they are a road team by a lot with that Couture matchup. And like I said, the Sabres are kind of searching for it right now. So I do like Hart quite a bit. I like him at 78 more than I like Vamilka at 79, but I still prefer Ottinger at 8. Dostal, I just talked about him a bunch. Probably my favorite goalie on the slate if you need to go down a little bit lower. So 7,300 looks great. Love Dostal. Binnington, I don't know how many times I've said it. I think the Avs are just going to absolutely pummel the Blues tonight. So I will have no Binnington on the slate. What is your favorite defensive pair tonight? I don't really, not a lot of options to spend on the favorite D pair tonight. I like Fowler a lot. Minikoff and Fowler are two of my favorites. I also like Zamula. So if I'm playing Colorado 1, you got to try to punt some defensemen. So I would probably go Fowler and Zamula as my two cheap options to pair with them. Thomas Harley's up there. I'm liking Taves and Girard. Yeah, I can see it, especially if Makar doesn't play. The problem is if Makar does play, they're dressing 7 defensemen, and then there's not a lot of ice to go around. So the fact that they're expected to dress 7 defensemen makes me feel like Makar's going to play, but they're nervous about him. So, but yeah, obviously if Makar and Byram are out, one of them's out or both of them's out, then the Girard instantly better, Taves instantly better. What are some negative correlations when building a lineup? Like, don't play forwards against your goalie. Yeah, don't play forwards against your goalie. And small slates, obviously you sometimes see it. It just limits your upside, right? I said it yesterday. If you've got a goal, a player who scores a goal against your goalie, you're not getting the full value of that goal. So yeah, don't play goalies. Don't play forwards against your goalies. Definitely bad correlation there. I just try to correlate as much as possible, right? Try to get guys that play on the same lines, play on the same power play unit, try to correlate it as much as possible. Typically, I'll try to full stack 2 lines with a defenseman that correlates well, and then obviously just a one-off defenseman. That's kind of like my favorite build. Sometimes you obviously can't fit 2 lines together. Like I said tonight, you want to play Philly 1 and Colorado 1, you just can't fit it. You got to leave off Lehkonen or Atkinson or Tippett, something like that. So yeah, that's the way to do it. But yeah, that's the negative correlation there, especially going against your goalie. And then just try to correlate. I use Natural Stat Trick a lot. They've got a really, really nice player index that shows you which player each player plays with the most. So you can kind of figure out which D pair certain forwards play with the most at 5v5. Because obviously you're trying to match up on the power play, but sometimes those guys are super expensive. It's not doable. So you can use the player index at Natural Stat Trick. It's a tremendous resource, and try to find out which defensive pair that line uses, usually plays with the most. Sometimes you see 25-30% of their ice time will come with a certain defenseman. I want to build a tool that showcases who the best ones are. It's difficult. It's a giant database to create, so I'm not quite there yet. But it's definitely something I want to do to help correlate these lineups a little bit better. I generally avoid lines that are going to face each other, like Buff 1 and Philadelphia 1 is something I never do. Yeah, and that's kind of what I said earlier, right? That's why I really like that Philadelphia 1, Buffalo 2 game stacks. They're not going to face each other. They both have great matchups, and they could both score a bunch of goals tonight and go head-to-head. Fowler or Sanheim tonight? I lean Sanheim. He's just a little bit more expensive, so they're probably pretty even because Fowler is just that much cheaper. But obviously, Sanheim has been great on the top power play, and it's probably got a little bit more upside. So I lean Sanheim, but if you need the salary relief, Fowler is obviously a great play. Good questions and info today. Thank you. You're absolutely welcome. Smash that like button on your way out. And yeah, that's going to do it for today's DFO DFS report. My hat trick pick before I go is going to be, I mean, I took Elias Pettersson yesterday. That seems too easy. I'm going to go with Mikko Rantanen because, like, that line's just going to smash. It's just too easy. I won't go McKinnon. I'll say McKinnon for somebody else because that's probably more likely. But Rantanen would be my game stack. Is game stacking viable? Absolutely, especially on a small slate. If 3 of these games are 3-1 and one of them is 4-3, that could be optimal. I talked about it last week. I like the game stack environment from the Montreal Columbus game. It ended up being optimal, and that's not a game that nobody was targeting. So it's certainly viable. Any other questions? Yep, nope, nothing else. All right, see you guys tomorrow. Cheers.